There it is, folks. Another season in the books for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The 2021/2022 season is officially over after another one-and-done situation, another wild card exit.
Another wild card blowout that the Steelers sustained.
And this turns out to be 3 straight playoff appearances where the Steelers have went one and done. 2 straight wild card exits. And all 3 of those games, the defense has allowed 40 or more points.
Inexcusable.
Very inexcusable season. One that...
Quite honestly, the Steelers should have been smarter after last season. The front office, the coaches, everybody that would manage this team should have been smarter coming into the season.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, who in their right mind honestly thought that bringing back a 39-year-old Ben Roethlisberger with a band-aided offensive line that the staff, like I said, band-aided.
Yeah, very minimal upgrade. Very minimal upgrade that they did for this offensive line and bringing back a 39-year-old quarterback. And,
And essentially brought back the same team from last season, except last season we had basically the easiest schedule, which is why we went 11 straight wins last season.
And this time around,
brought back the same team with the hardest schedule in the league.
But somehow, some way,
we managed to finish the season 9-7-1.
And thanks to the Jags and the Raiders, we made the playoffs as the 7th and final seed. Normally, there's criticism for Tomlin that he's underachieved with the amount of teams he's had the last 10 years or so. This year, surprisingly, somehow he actually overachieved. Going 9-7-1 with this team. A 39-year-old quarterback with a bum offensive line. A weekly offensive meltdown that only showed them playing one quarter, which was pretty much the fourth quarter after they were down 30 fucking points. Pretty much garbage time. A defense that suffered through injury after injury to the front 7. The hardest schedule in the league.
Somehow, some way, they had this type of season. I did not expect it whatsoever, and I will give Tomlin this. He somehow knows how to find a way to win, to not have a losing season. Somehow, some way, we managed to get into the postseason. Although we got blown out against Kansas City Chiefs, which me and Dan here and a lot of Steelers fans expected.
Yeah, for the second straight year. They bring Ben back, hoping for that one last ride, that one last chance for Ben, right, to finish out his contract, and it ends the same way as he did last year.
Now, I don't want to throw out some positives of this season. We saw some very minimal positives. We saw T.J. Watt proving his case to become Defensive Player of the Year this year, tying Michael Strahan's record.
And breaking the Steelers' single-season sack record.
To which that will never be touched.
No one's ever going to. T.J. Watt might break that himself.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. He gets better every single year.
So,
and same with Cameron Hayward.
Yeah, T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward had their best seasons to date. They get better as they age. And I don't know how that's possible because Hayward didn't have Tua and Alu all year. And Watt lost Dupree on the other side. And they still had the best season of their career while holding down that front 7 as much as they can, which they're only 2 guys. They can only do so much.
And I can even say the same for Minka Fitzpatrick. This season, he was dependent on so freaking much. He led the team in tackles this season.
Our free safety. A free safety leading the team in tackles.
Goes to show how dependable Minka Fitzpatrick truly is when it comes to his tackling, his coverage ability, how he can still break up passes, even though some of them are not thrown his way.
The only thing this season showed me was who we really should prioritize as the gems for this team. Defensively, you got Minka, you got Watt, you got Hayward.
And for the offense, you saw some gems, some diamonds in the rough, which was Najee Harris, our rookie running back, our first-round pick, and our second-round pick, Pat Fryme. If Najee Harris having 1,200 rushing yards behind this offensive line.
In my opinion, the worst offensive line in the league this year.
And Pat Fryme, if he had, 7 touchdowns this season, to which I did not expect that one bit.
And you could argue Deontay Johnson, 1,000 yards.
His first 1,000-yard season, for sure, I believe it will not be his last.
Although towards the end of the season, we started to see last year's Deontay, which we did not want to see whatsoever. We thought we were over that Deontay. Now, he keeps showing these reoccurring issues, so what the hell's the problem? It seems like these receivers still have their reoccurring issues. And I don't understand it. They're supposed to be taking that jump as they grow. And we're just seeing the same stuff we keep seeing year in, year out with these guys.
I don't get it. I mean, I will give them this. A lot of these guys are young, very young. They will continue to get better. They will use this to grow themselves as players and to benefit the team. I truly believe that. But that's just some of the positives that me and Danny have found this season. the very slight gems on this team.
That's pretty much what this season told me, is who are the true gems of this team. Through thick and thin, through the bad, the ugly, and the good, we really saw who is really the gods of this Steelers team.
And those are the type of players that you want to build the team around. And speaking of that, next season has got to be nothing but change for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It has to be changed completely. It should have been this year.
It's time for change. It should have been this year.
We actually said it after the Browns blowout in the playoffs last year that if you were going to bring Ben back, it was going to end in the same result. We weren't going to win the Super Bowl. Even if we made the playoffs, we go one and done again. If we were lucky to make the playoffs, which we were. As a matter of fact, I wish the Raiders and the Chargers tied so we can end Ben's career on a higher note. Him sweeping the Ravens, ending their season. Him going out on a higher note in the regular season. That's how Ben should have went out. Not that despicable performance against the Chiefs, which again was no surprise to any of us here.
Yeah, the only thing Ben really came back for was to get revenge on the Browns after what happened. He swept the Browns this year, and he swept the Ravens as well. He swept both of those teams that he has owned all his career.
So I suppose that's a good way to go out for Ben's last hurrah.
And he padded more of his stats, but that was basically it for Ben this year.
But bringing him back enabled what a waste of a season this was. This should have been the rebuild year. The rebuild year we're going to have next year, or at least I hope we have next year, should have been this year. To be real with you.
No, it should have been this year. This year. Last season we said it should have been this year.
This is going to be one of the most important off seasons for the Steelers in recent memory. And I know it seems like we said that every year, but it really is this year since Ben is going to officially retire shortly soon. I hope so. He needs to. I love Ben to death, but it's time to walk away. That's no hate on Ben. You just got to know when it's time to walk, and it's time to walk.
Hey, as a matter of fact, he should have been walked a couple years ago.
He should have.
But the Steelers just continue to think that he could get the job done, that he could lead us to a Super Bowl, when in reality, he was getting worse year by year. Father Time was catching up to him.
Yes, he was.
And you look at the AFC North teams, man, they have rebuilt slowly but surely.
Yeah, the whole AFC North, they've gotten younger. They've gotten their futures.
For God's sake, dude, the Steelers are out of the playoffs. Us Steelers fans are now going to have to watch the Cincinnati Bengals advance in the playoffs. The Bengals won the first playoff game in 31 years.
Yeah.
They took the time and realized that they had to rebuild. They had to start fresh. And look at them now.
All the other AFC North teams were building up. They were getting younger as we stuck with Ben when we should have already been at a rebuild process. And again, that's no hate on Ben.
It's not, but
it's more so the front office not understanding when it's time to rebuild and them holding on to false hope.
That's their fault. They delayed the inevitable.
And that's why I say this year was a waste, because next year should have been this year. But
next season, it has to be changed.
It has to be changed completely. Ben is going to officially be retiring very shortly after the season. Colbert, this will be his last offseason as the Steelers GM. He retires after the draft. This will be his last offseason and his last draft as the Steelers GM before we promote Omar Khan or Brandon Hunt, one of those two guys, I'd imagine. This is going to be very important to see who we keep, who we resign, who we pick up. What move is Colbert going to go all out this offseason? What are we going to do at the quarterback position? What are we going to do to boost this O-line? Most importantly, this O-line.
The offensive line has to be number one priority.
And what are we going to do about this coaching staff?
Yeah, the coaching staff has got to be in question. Because Mike Tomlin, first and foremost, he's not going.
No, he's not, and nor should he. I know he had another disappointing one-and-done season in the playoffs, but to even make the playoffs was some sort of achievement. You got to credit Tomlin in some aspect there.
But he's not going anywhere. We extended him last offseason.
He's going to be with us at least up until 2024, which is when his contract runs out. And even then we might give him an extension. I don't know. But Tomlin's not going, but the coordinators need to change. Canada has to go. This guy was not a replacement. This was more of a temporary fill-in. This was an experiment. And it was an experiment that failed. Matt Canada is not an NFL coordinator. He is a college coach, and he is not going to work in this league.
Yeah, and the Canada experiment will not work. Even if you give him the right personnel, you give him younger talent, a quarterback in the offensive line, a better offensive line, it's not going to work. Matt Canada's system is not going to work. If you ask me, it's the same thing as when Randy Fichtner was our offensive coordinator last year.
It was the same thing.
As a matter of fact, it was worse. It was worse. It was so bad. Do I expect Canada to leave? No. Unfortunately not, but he needs to go. We need to start fresh with a young-minded and a better offensive coordinator. The Steelers need to do the same for defensive coordinator.
What they need to do is they need to go out of their comfort zone, and they need to go out and grab someone that has succeeded in other team systems.
In the NFL. That have worked out in the NFL.
Because
go out your way to other organizations and sign someone from those organizations and bring them in here.
Like Rob said, I do not anticipate Canada leaving. They're not going to give up on him after 1 year. They're not.
They got to do it, but they got to do it for OC and DC if they want to work out, if they want to have true change for this team.
Specifically, defensive coordinator.
Because Keith Butler, I think this is his last year under contract for the Steelers.
I think he's going to retire. Unless we bring him back, which I would not because he's been with the team too long, and I'm ready for change for the defensive coordinator position for this entire defense. Honestly, especially since we're going to have a new corner core next year for sure. I'm sure Hayden's going to leave. Where we might have a new defensive line. I don't know if Tua Tagovailoa is going to be back. That's another topic for another day. But
yeah,
I would go out and get like a Vic Fangio. He runs a 3-4. He succeeded in the Bears scheme when he was the Bears defensive coordinator. Why not go out of your realm and pick him up to be our new DC?
I think that would work out well. I think that'd be great for the Steelers defense, for the talent that we have.
I would not have an in-house promotion. I would not promote Terrell Austin, our secondary coach. I would not promote our linebackers coach. I would not promote our defensive line coach. I would go out and get a Vic Fangio. He failed as the Broncos head coach. He's going to take a coordinator spot. Steelers got to go out of their realm and pick him up. Who knows? Maybe at that same possibility, maybe they can lure in Mike Munchak at the same time. God, we can wish, right?
God, we can truly hope. But
one can hope.
The Steelers got to stop doing in-house promotions. Enough of that.
That, first and foremost, is what they have to do. They have to fix up this coaching staff. They have to fix up the coordinators behind Tomlin. Most importantly. I am done with the Canada experiment. I know they're not going to get rid of them, but I'm done with Canada. I've seen enough of Canada after 1 year. Because it's the same thing year in and year out. You can make the argument it's because Ben's at quarterback, and it's more so maybe a Ben issue because he can't have so much freedom because he doesn't have the right personnel. But the play calling is atrocious, man.
The play calling will be the same no matter who's at quarterback. It's not going to work.
I truly believe that because look at the Lions game. Mason Rudolph was the quarterback of that game where we tied, and it was the same thing with the offense.
It was the same game plan as if Ben was going to be in it. It was no different. They didn't do anything to help benefit Mason in that game. They ran the same way as if Ben was going to be in. And that's not going to work.
No, it's not.
And that's what's going to continue to happen if Canada remains the OC.
So I think the coordinators in general got to get it a complete change. We need a change of scenery at the coordinators. Ben's going to definitely retire after this year. It's going to be a very interesting and exciting postseason or post-season, off-season for the Steelers.
Yeah.
It really is. I'm excited for it. I know the unknown is scary. But at this time now, where it is truly the end of an era, and we're about to see a lot of change, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what this team can do.
At least I hope there's a lot of change. Hopefully the Steelers understand that. Hopefully they work it out.
But they get it done. But most importantly, they got to fix up the coordinators behind Tomlin, and they need to build this offensive line. They need to build the trenches, more so on both sides of the ball, to be real with you. They need to build the trenches, but especially on the offensive side of the ball. Ben's retiring. We drafted Najee this past year in the first round. We're going to be a run-heavy team, right?
It's one of the reasons why you got Najee.
Najee had 1,200 yards behind the worst offensive line in the league, in my opinion. Give this man at least a decent O-line. Imagine what this guy could do. When I say rebuild, I'm not saying tanking. The Steelers aren't going to tank. The Steelers are always going to remain competitive, even if they are rebuilding. Whether that's a 9-7-1, a 9-8, an 8-9, whatever it is next year. I have no idea. The Steelers are going to remain competitive because that's the nature of that's just that's how they work.
Yeah, that's their competitive nature. That's how the Steelers have always been for several years. So they're not going to tank and have a top 10 pick.
And that's not what we're saying.
They're going to remain competitive no matter what, but they should focus on other positions because yes, quarterback's going to be unknown. Ben's no longer going to be the quarterback for the Steelers. He's going to retire more than likely. So the quarterback position is quite unknown. But if you ask me, for next season, I see nothing but a gap guy. I see nothing but a gap quarterback.
And honestly, that's the best thing we need because we need to focus on everything around the quarterback position before getting the future. Otherwise, you might be in quarterback purgatory because if you put a rookie quarterback behind an O-line that you band-aided once again, I mean, he's not going to have much success.
No, he's not.
So I build everything around quarterback. I build the trenches. I build the line. I get better receivers or more depth-wise receivers.
Yeah, and a better depth running back, too. Because as much as I love Najee Harris, you do not want to run him into the ground.
I'm not comfortable with running Najee into the ground 400 times a year. I know that's what Tomlin does. He did it with Bell. He did it with Parker. He did it with, Connor, which he wasn't built for. But we need a number 2 back to split with Najee. If we're going to be a run-heavy team, I'm not comfortable with feeding Najee 400 times a year. because he's just going to get worn out so quickly. And that's why running backs have a low lifespan. Drafting Najee Harris in the first round, you're not going to try to, only have him for one contract. Because that man's a star of a player, and I'm not trying to wear him down so early.
Exactly. You don't want him to turn into the next Todd Gurley. Because Todd Gurley, I mean, he's a free agent. He's probably never playing football again. He's like 27 still. 28, whatever. Like Todd Gurley, we know how he was. I don't want Najee to end up the same way. So you definitely got to get better depth at running back because Snell and Ballage or whoever ain't going to work out.
So,
at all.
In closing, I hope the Steelers get new coordinators on both sides of the ball, and I hope they build everything around quarterback before getting your future and potentially 2023. This is Colbert's last offseason in his last draft. So I'm hoping he builds everything around the quarterback position, and whoever the next guy is at GM, he lets the next GM pick the next quarterback for this team after next year. This year needs to be a rebuild, a competitive rebuild, because that's what the Steelers do. They will remain competitive, and they have gems that will always keep us in the game.
Yeah.
They will. This year proved that. And I think that's one of the main reasons why we, I guess, over-succeeded this year, if we're going to be completely honest.
Yeah.
But next year needs to be a rebuild and building everything for the next era.
It should have been this year.
It should have been this year.
But it's got to be next year. We're going to be in for some rebuild years, and that's fine because that's what the Steelers need if they want to get back to the top of the food chain once again.
That's exactly what we need. That's something we've been delaying for the last 2-3 years now, to be real with you. And now it is time. That time has come, thank God, and hopefully they can really succeed.
Hopefully they get it right.
It is going to be a very exciting offseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I cannot wait. The unknown is scary, but it's also very exciting because it's a new era. It's a new time.
And I'm ready for it.
I am ready for it. Been ready, and now it's here. So now I'm really excited. We'll see what Steelers do this offseason. It's going to be very newsworthy. It's going to be very exciting.
It's going to be very interesting. I'm actually excited. I'm pumped.
I can't wait. This is something that most of the staff hasn't had to focus on for almost 20 years because Ben's been the quarterback, and now they have to. So we'll see what they do. I can't wait. Let us know you guys' thoughts down below about the season. 2021-2022 Steelers season is in the books. 9-7-1. Made the playoffs to go one and done. I mean, some gems really stood out, but that's about it this season. Other than that, I found it as a waste. But let us know you guys' thoughts. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Here we go, Steelers.
Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Peace!